Well, hello, Aurora.
Hello.
It's nice to interview you. Um, you and I have chatted quite a bit, but we haven't actually seen each other face to face yet. Um, but it's a real delight to have you here.
Yes, I'm excited. Very excited.
So you have right now are completing an art project, a pretty major art project. Um, and I seen your interview on the news
hmm
about about you desiring to bring a spiritual or a awakening to people so that they feel comfortable about who they are and bringing some light to your city, or your town.
Yes.
Yeah. So um, I heard that you were inspired to do this for a long time. You wanted to do a mural. Is that right?
Yes, I've been wanting to do a mural for years and years now for the city, and so I'm very excited that I got this opportunity.
Yeah. And the message is because I seen the butterfly wings that
Mhm.
people can stand there and actually you know it, and so what is your desire with your art, the mural? What is your desire for people? Uh,
Um, what? Okay. My desire, well, with the butterfly effect, is that when someone puts out something positive or inspiration, like everything has an effect, a rippling out, because we are all part of a web and we're all connected with one another. Or you can see it as like the stone cast in the lake and the ripples of the water reach out. And so it's exciting to me to bring, love and light and spirituality and put my essence on this art piece. And then people can be inspired to be the change, because I want so badly to see humanity coming together and working together as one, and rebuilding the world in such a way that there's not so much suffering here
yeah, this has been something that you brought with you coming into this world, isn't it?
anymore. Yes, very much so. Since I was a little girl, I used to look up at the stars and feel like, you know, that I wasn't I'm part of this world, but that I wasn't from this world. From very young age, I remember being 4 years old, and it was nighttime, and I was kind of riding my tricycle around the pool area, and I looked up at the moon and the stars, and I just felt like angelic presence as a 4 year old, and knew that, um, I felt like I was an angel. And I felt, that I was here to spread the message of love to everyone.
In my work, I often find that, and it's often around that age, 4 years old and before, that people are still very connected to that. Uh, that they come in here already knowing, already connected, and a lot of interesting things. And it's after that, around 6 years old or so, when we find that societal programming takes place that says,
Mhm.
that you're not supposed to be or talk about that. You know, um,
Yeah.
did that happen to you?
Yes, I was told to be careful what I say, and or I would ask a lot of questions as a little girl, especially in the church. I had my very favorite Sunday school teacher. I loved her so much, and she was so full of light. And I felt like she was an angel too, just as like her eyes and her spirit were just so beautiful. And I used to ask her every Sunday, "Am I an angel?" No, no, you can't be an angel. Angels, they're their own being, and they're in heaven. They're not here on earth. And I said, but I feel like I'm an angel. I used to argue with her, and then one day she said, well, you're like an angel. And so I took that because that's all I could get out of her. And I remember walking home, like skipping and dancing. I said, I am an angel. They just can't see my wings. They're invisible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you wear them.
Yes.
Good, good, good. So, so then in your journey, there was some suppression that took place, and then with and then you started to come out afterwards at about what?
Um, around 7 years old. I was lucky. My favorite aunt, I used to call her Auntie Granny, and she was a magical spirit, and she would listen to me without judgment, and she would, encourage me and tell me different things, and she's the one who actually taught me how to lucid dream. Um, yeah, yeah. Uh, I think this has happened to a lot of people that I've talked to who were open such a young age. They kind of had some like psychic attacks or and stuff like that because they're so open. And so I used to have nightmares, and she really empowered me by teaching me how to lucid dream and find empowerment within myself within my dreams. And I even teach that to my own children.
Yeah, good, good. The thing with this is that we are met with a suppression. We are met with this suppression, and then we need to come out of that suppression. And sometimes we do have, auntie grannies in our life that come along. I know I did, but it was a him came along and kind of picked me up at a certain point, and helped me get back on my journey. I've had
Mhm.
several different experiences with something picking me up and putting me back on my journey. But
Yeah.
yeah, uh, and we're saying this or exploring this so that other people know, if their experiences follow along on this sort of same timeline, that they're not alone. Um,
Yes.
you
I
know,
really wish for people to feel like they're not alone, because I remember I felt very much alone within my experience, my spiritual experiences and the gifts that I had, and I didn't really have someone to guide me so much. I mean, I think like my auntie granny or whatever, but yeah, I didn't really have, someone there with me as a guide besides my spiritual guides that luckily I was very connected to. But yeah, I hope that if someone hears this interview that they know that they're not alone and not afraid to speak out or reach out to other people, because there are other groups of people that you can reach out to. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and some people even have the the feeling that this is something that is going on with them, and if they need a little assistance, they can also, you know, uh, get help for that too.
Hmm.
Yeah. I know I offer sessions for that. I don't know if you do or not yet, or do you?
Pretty soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yes, I just need to
Okay.
set it up.
Because I feel that you came into this world to do that in many different forms, with your art, with your singing, with all that you do, because you are very creative. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, you want to share with others some of the other things that you do?
Yes, currently I am writing a movie script, and I plan. That's like my biggest excitement right now. I'm like super excited about it because then it can reach. I hope it inspires people and reaches many eyes and ears, and something that people can relate to as they see it as it's a visual project for me. Yeah. With music and everything.
And is this is got a spiritual base to it, or is it?
Yes, it's gonna be about my life and my experiences and uh, past life experiences, and then future channelings of the future, and different timelines that I've seen. So
Mhm,
it's gonna be
mhm.
super exciting.
Cool, good, good. I'm excited to see it, or the movie. You're an actress now. Um, you act in theater, right?
Yes, I went to a performing and visual arts school, and so yeah, I've had experience acting and doing even backdrops for plays and theatrical makeup and all of that.
Hmm, hmm. Your energy, your energy is uh, more of the fairy energy, the magic, spreading the magic, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, I would agree. I used to be obsessed with fairies as a little girl. Fairy this, fairy that. And I was a fairy, and don't you dare say you don't believe in fairies or you better clap your hands.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
cool, cool. And 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 you feel very much like that, uh, spreading the magic around as you do.
Yes.
Okay?
Joy and happiness and magic and inspiration, imagination, creativity, and follow your dreams and wish on a star
Yeah,
and reach for the moon.
right. Cool, cool. Yeah. So, uh, what are some of the things that you're planning on other things that you're planning on, bigger things as well, like beyond the movie?
One of my two things pop up in mind. One is I'd really love to do like very dramatic like live painting. Well, besides my live painting performances, but I'd like to make them bigger. I have ideas for that, and excited about traveling that way. But also I'd like to open up a community center in my town as a platform for the new world. And what I mean by that is there will be like different classes and stuff in there, and different ways of teaching, a different way of life than people are used to. So like plant-based meals would be taught there, because it's becoming more normal now, I think, for plant-based meals and trends. Like people are starting to learn more about health and food medicine, but
Hmm.
I'd like to bring normalcy to these things. Organic gardening, meditation, dance, yoga, and a lot more, and make it a resource center. Yeah.
So a full spectrum,
Yes.
energy healing, energy work,
Yeah. And
all.
like the energy that I see in the community center, it's almost like, to me, like a portal, because you go in one person and you come out a completely different person with a much higher vibration as you clear out like the stress and old, thoughts that are not good for you, old patterns, old physical lifestyles that are not good for you, and transform into a much healthier mindset, emotionally, physically, and spiritually and mentally.
Yeah, because it is a full spectrum.
Yeah.
Healing is a full, yeah. And the
Yeah.
imagination plays the biggest key in any transformation. If you can
Yes.
see yourself and imagine yourself there, and step into that feeling, then, shifts happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd like it to be inspiring for children too, because children, a lot of times they have ideas and stuff, and a lot of times adults say, "Oh, you can't do that," or it's because the adults don't know how to do it, so they tell the children that they can't do it. And like very savvy like ideas have become like probably very great like business ideas and world changing ideas children come up with. And so one of the classes that I want to be taught in there, as I've been teaching myself, I'd like to teach children how to apply their ideas and these wondrous things they come up with and actually build, business off of it and have it, spread out into the world so their ideas aren't lost or their dreams aren't lost.
You know that from experience, don't you?
Oh yeah. I'd say
You had
yeah, I've had like many ideas.
you had ideas, and you probably tried to share that when you were a little girl, and no one would listen, eh?
Right.
And then
Or
later on in life, you apply them, and they work well, right?
yeah, so oh, if I had started working on them from that young age, imagine where I would be at right now. But I'm glad at this place I am right now, but I don't want other, people to miss out on great things that they can do much earlier in life.
Do you know there's a set of books, and it's called The Ringing Cedars of Russia,
Hmm.
and uh, it's about this man who found somebody who still lives in the deep forest, and she's very much like a fairy, only a very powerful fairy.
Uh-huh.
And this is a true story, and that they're the way that they ran things in the taiga, in the back country, was that the children taught the adults. The
Oh wow.
adults the adults would ask the children questions and wait for the answer. And they seriously would be asking the children the question, right?
Mm.
Now, what's happened and developed out of that, I thought this might interest you. What's developed out of that is that there are a lot of people now that in Russia and other places have taken this to heart, and they're building communities where the children are teaching the adults.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. I think children are very, very wise. Very wise. And especially before they're taught, know this or don't think this way or that, you know.
That's the societal programming.
Hmm.
That's the societal hypnosis that goes on, and everybody who's been involved in the societal hypnosis have been hypnotized, and what they do is turn around and hypnotize the children.
Hmm.
No, and you can't, and we all remember things that we did that should have been totally impossible. But as children, we do that. After listening to the no's and the hypnosis for a while, we have a difficulty doing that. I remember a time when one time, and I was walking down the road, and I was actually talking to God or source energy. And I, as a child, and I remember saying that I really want my parents to believe that you exist.
Mhm.
Would you make the thunder roll across the sky if I go back and tell them and whatever, so that they would know you're real? And I heard yes, yes, I will. I says okay. And so when I went back home, we had visitors over, and I didn't know that, so I was a little reluctant to talk about it.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, the thunder rolled across the sky, and my dad said, "That's weird." He says, and he looked outside, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky, right? And he goes, "There's no clouds, but yet the thunder rolled
Mhm.
across the sky." Well, it was later on that I shared with him what had happened. And of course, later on, it doesn't have the same effect as if it would have if you told him before, but
Yeah.
still, I was always playing in those areas, always, you know, always with a magical mind, until I reached the school system, and I started to go through school. But,
Mhm.
and then things got shifty. But then I came back to it afterwards in my 20s. But yeah, I mean, always in that magical place. And imagination and reality would flip, and for me, because it
Mhm.
wasn't really imagination. I was actually creating. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, your experience reminds me of an experience that I had. Um, and it was kind of funny because I actually surprised myself. I'm always like surprising myself.
Good.
And I remember it was last year during the summertime, and it was like super hot. And I was complaining to someone saying, "Man, it's so hot. You know what? I'm gonna make it rain." And like this person was like, "Yeah, right." I'm like, "Watch, I'm gonna go do it." And I went and grabbed my daughter. I'm like, "Come on, let's go make it rain." And we went outside and we started kind of like spinning around this lamp post and using our energy to make the wind come. And all of a sudden, like it was completely hot and clear, like no sign of rain at all. This huge like wind burst through the trees and it started raining, and it actually made the news in town that this crazy thunderstorm just blasted through and even like knocked some trees down. And it was like psh, like rain, like hardcore. And then I was like, okay, I'm done. And then it stopped, and I was like, okay, there's no way that I can like ever deny this anymore.
I know that to be true, uh, through experience as well with the weather. That you can, there was various things that happened with me, that with that too. I remember working on a crew, and we would be gone for 3 weeks and back for a weekend, and then gone for another 3 weeks, and we're working all summer like that. And I remember one time I went, really, I really would like to go home, you know, right? Because if it rained, then we got to go home. But this was
Yeah.
southern Alberta, way southern Alberta, and it's almost like a desert there. It just never rains. But then I started looking at the horizon and just feeling the cool breeze, even though it wasn't there. I could
Yeah.
feel this cool, wet breeze, eh? And then I'd mention to a few people, I say, "Is those thunder clouds over there?" And they go, "Oh, it never rains here." You know, next thing you know, it's raining. And yeah, and so I went, "Whew, this works." So, we'd go home and and then we'd come back. It was dry enough. We could come back and we continued working, and then I'd play it again. And I remember talking to an old fella. He says, "We have never seen so much rain down here,
That's funny.
but we're one with everything. You know, we're one with this planet. Uh, we're one with the weather.
Mm-hmm.
I remember another time that I was playing with the wind, and I was playing with the wind, dancing in the treetops, and would dance in this treetop and over here in this one, and it was basically, I was playing with the wind, and the wind was
Right.
just playing with me too, right?
Yeah.
And that we can do these things. We can, you know, we have that ability to
Yeah.
to connect. I wasn't controlling anything. I was like in a oneness with it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, oh, well, I know a lot of people have forgotten that we can do stuff like this, and that it's not even because I want to say like the mind's a powerful thing, but it's not even the mind. It's just being able to connect spiritually with nature, with different, energy sources.
Playfulness, creativity, and imagination is a powerful thing.
Hmm.
Starting with the playfulness of a child. When an adult is in that mindset of a child, yeah, they can play in these realms, in these areas, right?
Hmm.
It was like my old teacher said one time to me. He says, "Do you see fairies?" And I said, "No." And he says, "That's too bad, because you stopped believing in them. If you believe in them, you'll see them again, right?" And that's
Yeah.
true, because I'm looking at one now. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So we get convinced of a very limited, blinder-like view, and we get hypnotized into that view.
Hmm.
And there's so much more outside of the box
Right.
that we can explore who we are through just desire to do something about it, or desire to play within all this seriousness that's going on.
Right.
And magic
And
happens.
yeah. And you see a lot more magic when you pay attention to the magic.
Exactly.
You notice it more.
Because awareness makes things more, always.
Hmm.
Like right now, you're not aware of something that I'm going to mention. But as soon as I mention it, you're going to be aware of it, and you go, yeah, well, but right now you're not aware of it. You don't even know you have one right now until I mention it. The big
Uh-huh.
toe in your right foot.
Yeah.
Okay, now your awareness went there, and now you're aware of it, and now you can feel the bottom of it. You can, more aware. It expands.
Mhm.
Awareness expands everything. I remember one time I was on a site, there were scientists and whatever, and I was on this site chatting with them, and they said that, did you know that the universe is expanding from whatever point you're at? It's expanding. And I says, of course, because awareness always expands. And then
Yeah.
they called me a pseudo scientist, but it is our awareness that's expanding
Hmm.
everything. So, la la la.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of, do you see, well, source energy, like source or God as expanding as well?
Yes. So, uh, there was a fella that I met that is actually rewriting, because he's on commission to do this, but
Mhm.
he's going back through the old writings, the old scripture, and actually retranslating it.
Uh-huh.
And when he was going back and retranslating it, the time of Moses on the mountain, when he talked to the burning bush,
Uh-huh.
And he said, "What shall I call you, Lord?" What we heard is, "I am that which I am," right?
Uh-huh.
But when he got to that point and retranslated it, it actually said, "I am that which I'm becoming."
Mm.
One statement is stagnation. I'm already reached it, I'm already arrived.
Mm.
But the other statement is expansion.
Right.
I am that which I'm becoming. Well, how does Source become? Through you and me and everyone else. Our experiences add to Source
Right.
because we are
Um,
Source.
and love is not stagnant. And
No.
I see source is divine love and love is creation. It's ever flowing and ever moving.
So your excitement about a project or your excitement about your desire for an experience, your excitement, that childlike excitement, is the manifestation process, which is also the expansion of Source. Yes.
Mhm. Like yay for excitement.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So what else would you like to share?
Hmm. I'm like, I don't know, since you brought up fairies, it made me think of dreams
Yes.
and uh, how I used to travel. I mean, there's like people, you can do dream analysis and all of that. And then people, take dreams as symbology of, something that's happening within the conscious life, which I believe in too. But I also believe that dreams can also be another realm um, in which we can explore. And that's something I've been doing too since I was a little girl, exploring different realms within my dreams. Uh, and I think even outside my mind, because I say, your mind comes up with your dreams, but I feel like you can, explore outside of your mind. And yeah, I mean, like even when you're let's say you're talking to someone else and then they're thinking something and you say it out loud, right then you just explored outside your mind because you picked up from their thoughts. And the same thing happens in the dream world because of the collective consciousness or all the energies of everyone's thoughts that ever was or will be, and in the past. You can explore all of those in your dreams, which I found.
Yes. There are multiple, multiple realities that are happening right now. They say that, really you can't predict anybody's future because there's multiple realities out in front of them and they could step into any one of them. So you change a little bit in your patterning, how you think, in your patterning. Usually we go back to the past and change something that was happening there or whatever. And it changes the vibration now, and you step into a new timeline, and everything changes in your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, human beings have this addiction to regurgitating and repeating their past all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them a false sense of security
Right.
that because really nothing's out in front of them, they get to create it all, just like sources do it. But they step back and give themselves this illusion of something out in front of them by recreating their past. So this is why when we change the past, it changes the vibration because now that vibration isn't in your present moment anymore. You can choose a different timeline, right? And then it's like everything changes. But that is exactly the same thing, is that every dream, everything is a reality. right?
Mhm.
That's why I used to get upset as a child, because they used to come along and swat me on the head and say, come back to reality. And I'd always say, which one?
Yeah.
Just because every, you know, working as I do, I get to meet a lot of people, and each one of them has a different reality. You can never say there's one reality, but they'll all say there's one reality when there isn't. Everyone's having their own individual reality.
Right. Because perception and your awareness creates your reality.
Exactly. They can't. You can't even take the word for one person talking about their past childhood, because if you have five different children, you got five different renditions of what happened in the home.
Mhm.
Because even, so people are so stuck on this past as something to be an anchor to manifest from, when it's really as flexible as the future is, right?
Right.
we're living in we're living in pure magic, and
Yeah.
and most people are just convincing themselves that there's a one reality, when
Yeah.
actually we're in a multi-dimensional reality.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like how they even say like the only reality is just the present moment. Like, oh, and it just passed, and it just passed, and it just passed,
Yeah.
whatever.
And really, and however good you can feel in the present moment shifts what's coming at you, right?
Mhm.
So playing with that vibration in the present moment is fun, because you
Yeah.
get different experiences.
What advice would you give people, like I would say multidimensional thinkers who are able to switch the lens very quickly into different perceptions and they're not sure which perception to choose?
Well, what advice to give them? It's inevitable. Like Buddha said one time, you're doomed to make choices. You have to. You just make the choice, right?
Hmm.
Because you can change it in the next minute again if you don't like it. Um, right? You can
Right.
step into it and go, whoop, I didn't like that one, so I'm going to shift my vibration and go into another one. But but uh, but stagnant is a dimension of itself too. So sitting there with all the choices and not making any, right?
Right.
Sitting in that spiritual overwhelm of,
Yeah.
so it's, you just do it, right?
Right.
You just do it. Is that
Yeah. Like
explain?
I find what helps me is sometimes like to write out maybe for like write out like a life plan, which can obviously change, or maybe a plan for the month or a plan for the week. This is the aim I'm going, and that gives you a storyline or a perception to walk through. And then once you come up to maybe like an obstacle or a block, you have the choice to whether to move her around it, or maybe you're not sure what to do. So like how you said, staying stagnant, or I call it like sitting in the void or whatever, where you say, okay, it's okay. Right now I'm not gonna make a choice. I'm just gonna kind of let things move and then see what comes and see what door I want to go through today or in this moment, whatever.
Yeah,
And usually a door will open up.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to travel to the end result and see if that's what you want.
Hmm.
um, like we all do that for other people. When we sit down with people, and we can see the end result of their choice, right?
Hmm.
But a lot of times we don't do that for ourselves. But to go ahead and travel to the end result of, okay, if I'm going to do this, what's the end result? What's going to end up at the end result?
Hmm.
And sometimes that makes the decision if you want to go down that avenue or not, right? Or choose a different avenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although we create that end result anyway, but
We're the story writers.
yeah. I used to play with that with stories with people. I have them write once upon a time story, you know. Once upon a time, there was this, say for instance, there was this little girl, and write the once upon a time story. So she met this, she did that, she did this, she did that, right? And then she came to a certain point in her life. And then I say, okay, now you meet someone, a magician or somebody, and I want you to write the story now that your life has changed from meeting a magician, right? And so they would write what would happen in the future. Well, you
Yeah.
know how many people come back and said, you know what I wrote is happening, right?
Yeah.
Right, because we write our own story. Right?
I used to do that as a little girl in my head, and I would go switch back and forth from the perception. Is this something I'm writing, or am I seeing the future? Because they both went hand in hand for me. Like even my children, like as a little girl, I saw them in my dreams exactly what they looked like, their personality, and then I end up having those children that looked that way with that personality.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
So
very interesting.
that's a beautiful place to be in when you realize, now, is this preordained or is this something that I'm writing? You know, because really both, one is right. You're writing it. You're creating all of it,
Hmm.
right? But you are source energy, so it's kind of like it's preordained too. But you're the one that wrote it out, and so yeah.
Like, do you believe in soul contracts? Like, before you're born on this planet, you already wrote your soul, your contract out, or what you were gonna do, and that, yeah, you still have free will, but it always kind of loops back around to the same path that you're supposed to go because you wrote it before you were born or whatever.
Well, what I see with that sort of contract, like, see, to come into this dimension, right? To come into this dimension to affect the vibration of the planet, uh, there was a certain contract that we had to sign, and that is that we would submit ourselves to the suppression until we reach a certain point, and then we awaken.
Hmm.
Okay, so now some people never awaken. Some people stay within the contract the whole time, but
Hmm.
but some people say, you know what, I think this is a contract, and I think that I can burn this contract and actually free myself,
Hmm.
right, from this contract. That the suppression, even though I come in and experience all this suppression, is part of the deal, right? And it's suppression of various kinds, right? People have all kinds of different suppressions, but they're all suppression of that beautiful spirit that they come in as.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so they go through the suppression, and then they either come out of it or they don't come out of it, you know.
Right.
But the ones that pop out of it and say, okay, you know what, I think I'm going to, so some contracts can be burned. I come
Right.
to a certain age and this contract is null and void, right?
Hmm.
You know.
That's interesting because I was talking about like soul contract as in like your soul calling, but then you flipped it, and so it's like it felt more freeing in the way that you said it, where like you had a contract for suppression, but then your natural energy kind of like breaks through because we're all like free spirit, or our spirits are free to move, move through.
And so then you can be your if you call it soul contract, you can be your soul contract. I've taken people back in time many times to the point of what I call the magical inner child. And it's the child that still remembers, right? That still remembers why they came here, right? So everybody's looking for their purpose and their reason for being here and everything, and they're going to a higher self for that. But I found in inner child work that the child knows. And the child can take them back before they came in here. And in fact, even take them back to the point of origin, to the people that they were with then, and learn about what they signed up for to come here to raise vibration, right? Once they come into that, it's like this, oh, finally, right? And a lot of the anxiety leaves them, because when a child, because I've worked with children with this too, a child, a teenager, or an adult is riddled with anxiety, I find that usually it's because they're not doing their mission, why they came, and they're getting led off of it, and they get anxious about that. And once they come back to it, the anxiety leaves. Right? It's like, I know what I'm here to do. Okay, so I'm going to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then we reconnect with that original, before the suppression took place, or the programming took place, that original aspect of us that we buried. I think even you were told something about you're going to have to stop talking about that, or you're going to be crazy. Call you crazy.
Yeah, and even in like what I wanted to do, because adults will say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I would always say, "I want to be an artist." And I was told, "Oh no, don't be an artist. You're good at this. This is more a stable career for you. Artist is very competitive and stuff." And what am I doing now? Art.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
And I always felt when I was younger too, I guess because I always had "don't tell me I can't" type attitude, and always felt like, why not be an artist? And I was always creating, but yeah.
They really can't take the mission out of you, right? And so yes, like you say, there's this contract to take on the suppression as we come in here, right? But then we break out of that, and this is what's happening to a lot of people, is they're breaking out of that now and doing their passion, and continuing with their passion, and finding out that everything that was told to them was a lie, that they can actually make a living with their passion and go ahead and do things that they love, right?
Yeah, and then they're much happier because they're in alignment with their self.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're right. There is a deep, I feel there's a deep what I call the mission, why you came in here, to raise the vibration of the planet here, through just by you being here, let alone sharing with others, but sharing with others too, and helping them in specific ways, like maybe with a modality, or with painting, or with coaching or counseling, right? Helping people, these star seeds that come in here that are just like you and I, who come in and go through the hypnosis and want to come out of it, right? Yeah.
And I like the thought too that you just being here is enough to raise the vibration of the planet, because in everything you do, every action, expression, you're always affecting the world in one way or another. And it's very magical because we're so magical that just the natural essence and energy we put out, raises the vibrations of the planet.
Yes. Everyone you talk to, every, even if they, even if they say to you things like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I mean, I got that a lot, right? But even still, what do you want to do when you grow up? Because the system is geared to this hypnosis, right?
Mhm.
And so everybody else that's hypnotized tries to bring you into the fold.
Right.
It's just like this world religion that everybody, this one
Right.
focus, they're trying to bring you into, right? And
Right.
but standing strong in yourself and loving you, you can't help but do your passion, right?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, it's you loving you that's going to take you wherever you need to go, right?
Mhm. When you're talking about like the societal structure and the way things are set up, it made me think of because you mentioned star seeds before, but it also made me think of like crystal children, indigo children, rainbow children, these children or people that have come onto the planet for different reasons. Like they say, the indigo children are there to break down the structure. Crystals are there to rebuild after these structures have been broken down with new thoughts and perceptions and way of life. So
Yes. And they've been coming and coming since, coming into the world, to make a shift, right? To break up the, right now there's so much deep truth coming out. It's just flooding out, right? And
yeah.
that's because of this that's taken place prior to, the indigos coming in here and kicking butt, and you know what I mean, and kicking the top off the anthills, uh, and then the crystal children coming in and softening that a bit and making it more exposed. But now we're at a point where it's just more and more truth coming
Hmm.
out, good and alarming. But it needs to happen. The big broom needs to come and do the sweep, uh,
Yeah.
because we're entering into an evolution that was supposed to have happened many, many, many years ago, where we come into our own sovereign state of God, goddess, right? Actualized. And that evolution has been held back because, of course, if everybody was to know who they are,
Then they would no longer be under control.
exactly, this would fall right away. And then there's no box at all. It's just,
Yeah. I always think about what would happen if suddenly like everyone in their jobs suddenly just walked out of their jobs, out of like the regular 9 to 5s or whatever, and just went out to nature and I'm gonna go walk in nature today, or and then suddenly the world became like how it used to, where people started growing their own plants and everything like that, and had more, came out of their computers and their cell phones and just lived life and joy again.
exactly,
Mhm.
where people actually, look at each other and talk to each other instead of, yeah. Yeah,
And you said that you worked with children, right? That you work
yeah,
with children. Have
yeah.
you ever had people come to you and say, like, I believe my child's a crystal child or my child's an indigo child. Can you work with them?
Yeah, definitely. Mainly, I have experienced, where, it's interesting. But children are much closer to the original source than the adults are, right? So what I find is that the children, when parents bring their children, it's usually because they're having fear, anxiety, stress, this sort of thing. And what the heck is a child having anxiety for at a certain age? You know what I mean? A young age, to me. But this is what it is that the more that what I'm finding is that the more that children, especially the new children that are coming, when they go through the process of having to put away that special part of them and take on the societal mask and be the program, right? They get really anxious, right?
Right.
Lots of anxiety because they don't want to go into that box, right? Or they don't want to take that part of themselves away and put it in a box somewhere. And so what happens, it's very quick, and easy, really. I ask them, I've asked a few of them this, and you get this response, or quite a few of them. But you ask them, where are you from? And they go, well, they give you their house address, right? And I go, no, where are you from? And then they go, poof. And then they start to tell you, because they feel safe to tell you where they're from, their ideas, you know what I mean? Because somebody's recognized me, right?
Yeah.
And away they go and they start telling you. And I had one child, I keep bringing this up, but I had one child that when I asked him that question, he just looked right at me. And when he did, it was completely telepathic. Not a word was spoken, and it was just boom. And all this information just went, right? And I'm feeling it, right? It's like boom, and then it's making pictures. And he's just looking at me like this. And it's just boom, we went into a different zone. And then he comes back out of it, and I come back out of it, and I go, well, thank you. Can you do me a favor? And he says, sure. And I says, can you turn to your mom and do that? And he goes, okay. And he turns to his mom, and he drops into this state and just goes, and when he does, the moment it hit her, it was almost like you could see it hit her. And the moment it hit her, she started to bawl. She started. And I said to her at that point, you see, they're here to teach us, not the other way around. Right? And it was just, and then you could tell that she remembered her, her child with him too, right? Oh, it was a beautiful experience. But yeah, children, when I work with them, they have I'm going to tell you another story. It was the cutest damn story. And this mother wanted me to work with her daughter because her daughter was terribly scared about going to school, right? And she says, if I make an appointment with Dwaine, would you see him? And she goes, yes, I'll see him. So anyway, mom sets up the appointment time. The little girl comes. She looks at me on the screen for a little bit, and then she goes away. And so the mom was apologetic and everything. And then she asked the daughter afterwards, why did you just walk away? And she says, well, I told you, Mom, all I needed to do was see him. But when she looked at me and I looked at her, there was the real seeing that took place, which is beyond the mask and into the greatness that you are, right? That look that happened. And when that happened, it was like enough for her to just let go. And she never had the fear again.
Wow.
And every once in a while, I'll get a video from her where, you know, she's teaching me something.
Uh-huh.
And she says, you know, I'm your teacher, right? I'm Dwaine's teacher. And it's really cute. But yeah, um, this sometimes isn't all about words all the time. Sometimes it's
Right.
about recognizing the frequency and the energy. And that's all she needed to do. She needed to see me. And once she did,
Right.
she was reminded, and then everything was back to flush again, right? Was
Yeah. I can relate to that because even more recently I've been exploring that because I know that when you have an interaction with someone there's a natural energetic exchange that happens, and sometimes you don't need to really say very much words, but just that very short interaction or just seeing them or a few words spoken is enough for you to pick up what you needed to pick up from that, like something awakens within you.
So that's been trying to happen, this full interview between you and I. But in order to have other people understand, I keep talking, right? But really just looking in and seeing each other.
Hmm.
And for those that are watching, we're also seeing you. And there's a space there that isn't of this world. And if you stay there, you notice that what you're seeing begins to change. And as long as you don't shake your head, you just go with it.
Hmm.
You enter into a very neutral, nice place. No thought, midbrain. Some people even say that faces start to change. And that's because we're floating between dimensions, seeing through the veil. Interesting, isn't
Hmm. Like, huh.
it? Yeah,
And refreshing.
it is. There's nothing that you need to do. There's nowhere you need to go. Just sit comfortably at your kitchen table and love who you are. And the universe will surrender itself at your feet. It has no choice. I forget who wrote that poem, but
I thought you wrote it.
no, I didn't write that one. I wrote many poems, but not that one. Now, so that stillness that happens when we learn how to drop from the top part of our mind and into midbrain, which you do a lot anyway. I can really tell that you do that. But a lot of people are stuck up here
Hmm.
in fears and worries and concerns and blah blah blah. And if they just take a moment and just drop in to this place,
Hmm.
you get to know a part of you that's never been born. nor will it ever die. It's eternal. Yeah, it's not the body, but it goes far beyond the body and space and time.
I'm like, you just took me back to Egypt.
Isn't it interesting how many people have their roots in ancient Egypt? It's like so many of us have come back from that ancient time to be here now. Right?
Mm-hmm. Did you know that in ancient Egypt, the North Star back then was Polaris, and it hasn't been the North Star again until now?
Oh, wow.
Yes. And there are two stars, that binary stars that go around Polaris, and which the Egyptians built their pyramids around. So there'd be one opening here on one side of the pyramid and one opening here, and then there would be the king's area, and they believed that their spirit would, go into each star.
Mm-hmm.
And then also within the brain, because you're talking about the brain, the midbrain, that they use that as a symbol too, as the midbrain is Polaris in the middle, and then there's the star in the front and the star in the back.
And did you know that when you take the brain and you split it apart and you look at that midbrain, it's the eye of Horus?
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's cool. Huh. It reminds me, I can't remember where it was from, but it was a song. Oh, that song, you're like you're like a diamond. And in the lyrics it said about let the eye meet the eye. And it reminded me of the eye of Horus, like two together and moving through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so when we go to midbrain, we're going into the eye of Horus. And it's always been right within us. Right? It's not out there, we've got to search for it somewhere. It's right inside.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
It's all very interesting and very cool.
Yes. Yes. So is there anything that you'd like to leave people with before we go?
Yeah. To not be afraid to speak up about your experiences, because you'll never know who you'll meet, and you'll never know what more awareness or knowledge you can gain, or experience, or happiness or joy you can find by expressing yourselves and opening up to other people. And I'd like everyone to feel comfortable in being themselves and not afraid to let that child self out either, and that inner knowing.
Exactly. Yeah. It's time for the magical consciousness to return to this planet.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. It was very nice to interview you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And is there any event that you're doing right now that you'd like people to come by and see you?
And my next event is actually a magic show.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's good.
And it's for children. So children in town Leaves Magic Show. I'll be doing live painting for that in September 15th on Centennial Square in Bakersfield, California. So come out and see and watch the magic.
And you're centered in Bakersfield, are you?
Yeah, Bakersfield, California.
Okay. And I'm sure that, you know, I'll have some links for people here to see. And they can come to your site or come to your Facebook page or
right,
whichever to keep in touch. Yeah, and come see you live painting.
Yeah, I do live painting online sometimes too. So people.
Good. Sounds good. Well, you have a delightful evening.
You too.
and thank you everyone for showing up, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, I won't end it right now. I'll just clip this out.
Okay.
Did that go okay for you?
Yeah, it was fun. I liked it. It was good.
Did you feel a little trancy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Felt good.
Good. Well, okay. I won't keep you if any longer. I just thought I'd say hey.
Yeah.
How did it go for you?
Did you like the interview?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
It has a nice energy.
Yeah.
It's not hyped out. You know what I mean? Like, it's a nice energy. I think people will like it.
Yeah, nice and fun and warm and pleasant.
Yeah.
I think.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Good.
Cool.
Okay, dear.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'll catch you later.
Okay. Catch you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.